take your life seriously.
Right, so we move on to nutrition, hydration?
Yes, and we're going to move on to that. Also, we're going to just give it a bit more quickly, and we can probably go into nutrition and hydration and stuff in a separate episode. Maybe that's going to be on the Beyond Limits podcast.
We'll do a deep dive on that.
Yes.
But, I mean, this is all obvious. Everyone knows this. Does everyone do this? Probably not. Do you do it all the time? Probably not.
No.
Do I do it all the time?
No.
Definitely not. But I do it as much as I possibly can. And again, now, like... I've been sat in my house for a week with a leg infection and I've been given antibiotics. Great. I've been told to rest. Great. I could eat cheeseburgers and drink cans of Coke. That is not going to be conducive to my recovery. I know that. Mm-hmm. So what I've been trying to do is eat green stuff. I've drank a lot of those. I'm not going to... What are they called? The smoothie green drinks you can get in the supermarket.
Yeah, nice.
So that, and anything that's green and from nature, I think is like a superfood.
Yeah.
It's super good for healing, for recovery, for performance, anything. So I've been doing a lot of them. I've been having a lot of protein, high protein in my food. Some good quality meats, lots of vegetables,
Nice.
lots of fruit in the evenings for like dessert. I'll have like a fruit salad, plenty of water, like unbelievable amounts of water. I'm not sure what it is about taking medication, but it always makes me feel dehydrated. So I've been overcompensating, if you like, with the water and just using that as an aid to my recovery. And I did this years ago as well. I'm not going to go into a deep story here, but when I was first recovering at Headley Court, and it's a military establishment and you get military food, and I remember not complaining about it, but constantly suggesting that men and women that need to recover can't be eating refried chips and burgers and whatever other mystery meats it was that they served. They needed fresh, healthy, wholesome foods to recover from the inside out. That eventually got implemented in the rehab system. But I've known for a long time that, you know, it's a basic thing like sleep, but it's super important that you hydrate constantly and you eat the right foods.
Definitely. So my tips for athletes, when you're going to go with food, carbs are really important, especially if you're training a lot. Carbs, really important. High fiber carbs are good to put in your diet if you're training a lot because it goes through your system quite fast. Smoothies, definitely big on my list. I do one of them every day. Mine's with beetroot juice. I put like raw egg in there. I put banana. Protein super important as well for each meal. If you can get it in there, super easy way of putting it in for your breakfast is just put a scoop in with your oats. Protein's important. Just have a general look at, you know, the dietary stuff. There's so much information out there now. You can find out what's important, micros and macros and stuff, but just knowing a little bit about it is important, and will aid recovery. I feel like carbs, because I've done different training where I've done low carb diets and I've started to be at lower weight classes, and then I've done that for like a few years, and then I've done a higher weight class where I'm high carbs. My recovery's better, my sleep's better, my mood's better, my retention of information's better. So that is really important, as well as drinking a lot. Drinking a lot's difficult because I was away last week on holiday. And I found it quite hard. Normally I can drink about 4 litres to 5 litres a day, but I'm training a lot. So when I'm training, I'm smashing down the water as I'm resting during the rounds. But actually just trying to drink 2 litres of water a day when you're not doing much is quite difficult. Right. So I think that feeds back into keeping active. If you're walking around and you're doing stuff and you're just mobile and you're actually active, your body's pumping blood around your system. You're using more of that water that's already in there. You're going to drink more. So being active, I feel like that's a good, sometimes, you know, rest is important for recovery, but if you just, all you do is rest, you feel lethargic. You feel like, oh, I don't really want to do much. That's the way I feel anyway. I don't know if you feel the same.
That feeds perfectly into the next step, and I do feel the same. But the next tip we were going to talk about was active recovery.
Yeah, nice.
Now, I didn't really know what this was until probably about 2 years ago. I thought, you know, on my rest days, I just rest. I don't do anything. I've got to recover. And then I think it was Ben that introduced me to active recovery, which I guess in its basic form, and I'm not a PT, so I'm pretty basic when it comes to this stuff, is keeping your body moving, but like in a zone 2 kind of. So you can hold a conversation like we are now, but you're active. So you're walking on a treadmill, you know, you can't see it, but my hand bike's just down beneath the camera. So I would be on my hand bike on the turbo trainer, being able to hold a conversation with anybody, but my body is still moving. My heart rate is slightly elevated. I'm slightly above, obviously, my resting heart rate, but I'm not thrashing myself. You know, and when I understood what it was and I started doing it, Becky didn't understand what it was. So she used to give me a bit of stick, like, why are you still training? And I'm like, I'm not training. This is active recovery. I've got to keep my body moving, because if I just stone cold stop, that's probably the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, it'd be almost like, I compare it to like a race car.
Yeah.
You know, you're tearing it around a track 100 mile an hour, skidding around the corners, engines screaming, you're putting it at max chat, and then you just turn the ignition off and walk away and leave it for a week. I'm sure that's not healthy for a race car. It's not healthy for a body either. So active recovery is a great way to recover.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like training in general, active recovery is like... it's if you're not training and then you're just doing active recovery, there's still something to be said about zone 2 training. Okay, a lot of endurance athletes do it. So as Mark said, it's between sort of 130 to 140 heart rate, and you want to go for like 40 minutes to an hour if possible. Not always possible if you've got a family and you're busy. Tricks that I like to use is you can go hiking. Okay, you go on hiking some hills, you maybe carry a little bit of weight in your back, or you carry everyone's drink bottles in your backpack. That way you're sort of getting out, you're still spending time with the family, and you're getting out in nature. Hot baths or sauna. Sauna would be the best option, but sometimes obviously saunas are not possible for everyone.
That's the next one. Slow down.
Is it?
Slow down. That's
slowing down. But that, believe it or not, feeds into zone 2 sometimes, because your heart rate's elevated in that sauna or hot bath. That's what I feel like the most benefit is from that. So definitely getting some active recovery in there, but just training in general. Training in general will pick your mood up, which will that aids the way you eat, that aids the way you drink. If you train in the morning, you just don't feel like eating cheeseburgers and whatever for lunch. You've trained, so you think in your mind, I've trained, I want to refuel with something good. That feeds into that massive loop, which is going to aid everything in life. So just training in general, and then zone 2, I feel like, is the icing on the cake, especially if you're athletes. Zone 2 for recovery. That is the one change I've done this year, and now I can't go a week without it, because I feel like it's the bottom of the triangle almost, and you build that wider base at the bottom. You can go sort of higher up at the top.
And at its most basic level, I think just something like a slightly sped up walk, or a walk with a couple hills in. And what I love about it, I mean, this is not for this podcast, maybe another one, when it comes to a time management perspective, is you bung your earpods in. You bang on a podcast, an audio book, some educational material. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're getting your active recovery in. You know, I do it on my bike a lot. I'll sit there if I'm doing like a 45-minute hour zone 2 thing, and I'll just listen to podcasts back to back. And I'm working out my body and working out my brain. So that's for another podcast. We're not going to get into that, but let's move on to what you alluded to just now, and that's recovery modalities. So ice baths, massage therapy, stretching, foam rollering, all this kind of stuff. All the different massage, cupping, acupuncture, blah 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 blah. There's a million of them, but let's dive into those a little bit, and let's start with something that I'm just starting my personal journey on right now, which is ice baths.
Yes,
I am yet to have a proper ice bath. I understand and have felt to a degree the benefits of it from sea swimming. I do cold shower in the morning, but what I found is, like with the weather the way it is now, it's not really a cold shower. The pipes are warmer. You bang the shower on and you crank it right down, and I don't feel much of an effect of it. Like in the winter, absolutely, it's freezing, and sometimes you struggle to be able to talk initially, but now it's not so much. So, I need to get into the ice baths and start to use that as part of my routine, and I feel sometimes my body craving it. Like sometimes if I'm training too much, whether it's jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, whatever it may be, it feels like my entire nervous system needs to be reset. And I think when I sit there and think about it, so I think that ice baths are what are going to do that for me. Is going to be able to just like reset my entire nervous system, help with my inflammation, repair all the tiny micro tears in my muscles while after exercise, and it also has huge mental health benefits as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to, and I did it a bit in the cold showers, but you have to be able to mentally take control of yourself. And I remember sitting there, and I think I started cold showering. It was in the winter, and it was horrible, and I had to psych myself up for it. And then while I'm doing it, have this conversation with myself about why I have to keep going, why I have to keep pushing, and going for like 2 minutes at a time. So, you know, it's I guess it's that what we talk about a lot is being out of your comfort zone, and eventually trying to make what was uncomfortable one day just normal and routine stuff the next day. But I mean, do you do them? Do you ice bath?
No, it's interesting you say it calls you. The cold repels me. It never calls me towards it.
Oh, okay.
The sauna, I love the sauna. But to be honest, I've not ever done the cold that much. I've done sea swimming. I felt the benefits there of that. Being thrown in by the sea, I think there's something there with just, you know, being in nature and feeling the power of that. I don't know if it's the cold, but you've been lucky enough now to work with, what's the company called?
Ice Bath Company.
Ice Bath Company, super good company out there. So I think we're going to be putting it in there very soon, daily, or at least, you know, 3 or 4 times a week. Might even do some funny questions.
Try and do a podcast from there.
Just to get on. So I'm looking forward to trying it, and I hope I get the same sort of feeling, because we're going to move on to sauna.
I love saunas, man.
Saunas for me is just, when I'm tired, I feel like the cold, even the cold showers, I've heard about it for years, how good they are for you, but just turning that knob in that shower is just like, I don't want to do it. Now, for the heat, I feel like I want to get in there if it's hot. If it's a sauna or a jacuzzi, I just want to get in there. It's the opposite for cold, but that's probably part of the reason why I do need to probably do it more. But I think the sauna, and I'll tell you when I noticed the sauna the most was during lockdown. My normal routine, I would train from say 6 or 8 in the morning to about 12. Then I would go and do a sauna session, go home, eat, and then maybe do strength and conditioning in the evening or more training. I did that for about 2 years, and it would just be the normal sauna, 10 to 15 minutes. I'd stretch in the sauna as well, and I'd be in the sauna for about 10 to 15 minutes, go out, get a shower, go back in there again for 10 to 15 minutes, and that would be me done. That was part of my routine. But during lockdown, all the gyms shut. The sauna wasn't available to me. Didn't have access to the sauna, so didn't use it. Reopened again about 1.5 years later. When I started to reintroduce the sauna, my cardio picked up by about 10%. That's no word of a lie. I just felt my cardio. Everyone in the gym was like, are you doing something different? But I don't know if that was to do with, I know it's the heat shot proteins that are in there and all that kind of stuff. But my heart rate's always elevated when I'm in there. So it's almost like I'm in that zone 2 place, but my body's not moving. So my heart's pumping all the blood around, but I'm actually I'm not using any force to move any of my muscles around. So I'm not using any energy. Also, I feel like there's no phones in there. There's no, you know, so you're just resting your brain as well for that 15 minutes. And I am stretching as well. I always find myself more mobile. So the sauna is a massive one. How about you?
So I love the sauna, mate. And what I feel the difference is, listening to you speak there between the ice bath and the sauna, is when you get in an ice bath or a cold shower or the sea, you have to have this mental battle that I was talking about, where you've got to psych yourself up and be like, come on, be a warrior, do it, don't be weak, blah, blah, blah. But when you get in a sauna, it's like, oh, this is nice. So relaxed. But my problem is, right, this is just how immature I am. I still have this issue when I get in a sauna. I'm like, crank it up. I want to see how much I can survive. And I'll just pour water on, as long as I'm on my own, right? Because there's etiquette, obviously, in a public sauna. But I'll just crank loads of water on it. I'm like, and I'll turn that egg timer over, and I'll be staring at it. I'm like, can't get out yet, can't get out yet, can't get out yet, can't get out yet. And I can't leave until that egg timer is completely run out. And if I'm feeling okay, when it's run out once, I'll flip it, and I'll be like, staying for another session. So I need to kind of grow up a little bit when it comes to saunas. But yeah, I mean, if you gave me a choice and said, would you want to go in the sauna or the ice bath? I think most people, me included, would pick the sauna every time. Yeah, because it's so relaxing. And I stretch in there too. I stretch my hip flexors out and my lats and everything like that.
But I think that mental battle is something there. If you're pushing yourself to do that every day to get in the cold, it is something there. I think you're
there's
not
a lot of personal growth in the ice bath, but the sauna as well. It's just, you can think a lot in there. You can chill out and you're just sweating lots of toxins out as well.
You
so
are.
impurities out of your body that you can get rid of. You go and shower them all off and internally.
Right, sauna.
All right,
Done.
next one, mind body techniques. I'm a big fan of this. I've been doing this a lot more this week, but meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises. You know, I in lockdown I became aware of breathing techniques.
Yeah, same as me.
Obviously, with the popularity and the rise of Wim Hof at the time, that was where I started, and then I went down a YouTube black hole, discovering all these different techniques, and I'm a big fan of it. I in fact, this is something I probably should have talked about during sleep. I've slacked on it a lot lately, but I don't know if I told you I used to tape my mouth closed.
Yeah.
I do not recommend this to anybody to go and do this, but I used to tape my mouth closed at night with this micropore tape and just force myself to breathe through my nose, because I read a book called The Oxygen Advantage, and it was all talking about the benefits of nasal breathing over mouth breathing, how mouth breathing is so bad for you. They tell you about the science of it all, and historically as human beings, how we've only just, you know, in a couple thousand years started breathing more through our mouths than our nose, and the negative effects that has on your system and your health. So I started taping my mouth closed at night, and again, a story for another time, very funny story about when I was in a hotel and the police kicked my door in and I woke up with my mouth taped closed, and I'll tell you all about it later. But breathing techniques, they're so good, and you know, I did the Wim Hof stuff.
You can't go into that story and not tell everyone about that. Let's just pause that podcast, because that sounds like the weirdest situation.
All right. So
This is going to be a bit longer. Come on.
Check this out. It's going to be a bit longer now. But I travel a lot. I'm on the road a lot. I spend a majority of my time in hotels, particularly Premier Inns. And Premier Inns usually would have a Toby Carvery or a Harvester or whatever it is attached on the side, right, where you can go and eat. And I was up around the Guildford area, I think, in a Premier Inn. No, I must have been, because I was getting my prosthetics done. And I was in the early stages of my nasal breathing journey. And I went back to my hotel room and I started getting ready for bed. It's not a super important part of the story, but I think it all adds to the visual side of it. But I sleep naked. So I had gone to bed, and I had taped my mouth, and I had the eye mask on that we talked about earlier, and I had no clothes on. Nothing unusual for me. But about 3 o'clock in the morning, my door got booted in.
No way.
I woke up in this panic, not knowing what it was. And these 3 police officers burst in through my door, 2 females, 1 male. Now, I sat bolt upright, and you've got to imagine, right, I've got a sleep mask on. So I'm in this kind of shock of capture state, and I can't see anything because I've got this sleep mask on, and you forget you've got it on, and I've got my mouth's taped shut, and I'm like trying to figure out what it's almost like a hostage negotiation situation I found myself in, and I'm butt naked, and I'm missing both my legs and my right arm. So I kind of looked at it from like, what did the police think about this when they busted my room? But what happened is someone had assaulted their partner at the restaurant. They had been drunk and they'd been out partying, and there was a bus stop, and all one of the witnesses heard was the woman saying, "Stop, Mark, stop." So what I assume happened is the police officers came into the hotel and said, "Show me your guest list of everybody called Mark." And they filmed, I was on the ground floor closest to the reception. So they thought it's me. So they kind of booted my door in.
No.
And they've just seen this bloke with a mask on, his mouth taped shut, with 3 limbs missing, naked, thinking, what the hell's going on in this room? I was just sleeping.
What have I walked into?
But then I took my sleep mask off, ripped the tape off my mouth. I tore the skin off my lip as well because I pulled it off too quick. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And on a serious note, they went, there's been an incident with a woman. And straight away, my nan was poorly at the time. So I thought something's happened to my nan. But then I'm like, why are they kicking my door in? And then I'm like, where even am I? Because I'm confused still.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about my wife and my daughter, my eldest daughter, thinking if they've been assaulted with my house, what's happened? So then they told me what had happened. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but it wasn't me. Like, I've got one arm. My wife's in Plymouth, hundreds of miles away. It wasn't me. And so they're okay, cool. And they just left. And I'm like, no apology, nothing. But then I was like, they must have gone back to the police station and went, you'll never guess what just happened. That no one will believe
the door
them.
down,
But yeah,
masked up.
that's completely gone off on a tangent. But the breathing, going back to that, if we
Right.
can.
I can't get that image in my mind now.
No,
I've
I
got
bet
it
they
in there.
can't either. But
Breathing. Right,
yeah, it
stay
was
on
so
topic.
beneficial. And you probably remember a period when we were training jiu-jitsu together, and I just tried nasal breathing the whole time. Zone 2 cardio, it's fine, you can do it, but when you
Mhm.
start cranking it up, you've got no choice. You've got to
No.
use your mouth to
Yeah.
breathe, especially when you're lifting weights as well. You know, you need that
Yeah.
explosive breath. You can't do that through your nose, and
No.
snot goes everywhere.
Mhm.
But I find it mega beneficial, like learning how to breathe properly, to nasal breathe, to breathe while you're exercising, particularly the zone 2 stuff,
Yeah.
and how to do it in your daily routine, like when you're driving.
I
Just
think so.
consciously try to breathe through your nose more than you do through your mouth.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Through driving is when I try and do it. So if I'm driving to the gym, I'll try and do it then. Rolling is impossible for me at the minute, but I feel like you could build up to that maybe. But then I always see the best guys when they compete, they're breathing through their nose, and they're calm in that situation. I'm not one of those guys. Okay, I'm breathing with my mouth a lot, but I'm trying to get there. Zone 2 as well. We're trying to do that. Sauna, try and do it in the sauna. I've just recently got this new app called State. It's like a breathing app. You can do, if you want to wake up and feel more present, you can press it and it'll guide you through breathing exercises there. If you want to fall asleep, and it'll guide you through breathing exercises for that. But during that, I try and breathe through my nose. It's only sort of 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. I used to do the meditation stuff, not as much anymore. Probably do need to go back to it. But I feel like days just busy, but then it's probably me being a bit lazy. Do you still meditate mornings and stuff? Or
Every morning.
Every morning.
Every morning
Nice.
without fail. I try to do it. Like I said, I'll nap at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Or if I can't do it by lunchtime, if I could do the school run, I'll
Mhm.
turn up there like half an hour, 20 minutes early, and I'll bung on a meditation app. Here's another, double tap your time tip, but I will bang on the meditation app and combine it with the breathing.
Yeah.
So
nice.
maybe something that's a guided nasal
Yeah,
breathing
yeah, yeah.
meditation. So I'm consciously listening to the guy, breathing through my nose, while also just kind of purging my head and my mind and relaxing for that 20, 25 minutes, just to get that hit in the daytime.
Nice. So if you are skint and you can't afford a sauna, you can't afford these things, good tip from me is hot bath. I've bought some waterproof headphones now from Sony. They're like 50 quid online. That's not too expensive. I put my State app on, put it on the bath. I have it as hot as possible. I'll put my headphones on. I'll go under the water so my head's just above, and then I'll be breathing through my nose. You could associate that to meditation because I'm not doing anything apart from that breathing. So I think that's probably where I do get a bit of meditation from. But before I used to do the visualization and all that kind of stuff. I might go back to it as career paths are changing soon. I need to change directions. So any more on your list?
There's nothing on the list. I think. Have you got anything?
No coffee intake, which is, a new thing for me. I'm trying to balance it, not to have it any later than sort of 2 or 3. That's to affect sleep. Sugar intake as well is quite
I would
important.
say caffeine intake because
caffeine.
so I'll probably, when I finish here, around about 10:30, 11 is usually when I have my second and last coffee of the day, or I'll have I've got a couple crates of the Grenade energy drink in there. I'll never drink them after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, there's no sugar in them. They've got some great vitamins in them and BCAAs and all that kind of stuff in them.
Nice.
So that they're a healthy drink. They're not like a sugar-packed, false high drink.
Yeah.
But they still have caffeine in. And I know that will affect, if I drink one of them at 4, even though, it's hours till bedtime, 6.5 hours or whatever it is, it still has an effect, whether you think it's out your system or not. So I won't have anything after lunchtime.
Nice.
No.
Awesome. Wrap it up, shall we?
Yeah, I think just to wrap it up, it's important that to note that the things me and you have talked about and the things me and you do have taken a couple years of testing and adjusting and trialing and figuring out what works and what doesn't, and dumping what doesn't, trying new things. It's a very individual thing. And what works for Ricky might not work for me. What works for me might not work for Ricky. It's a constant journey of just trialing things, testing things, seeing what you enjoy doing, what fits into your schedule as an individual, not trying to force too much stuff to the point where you think, oh, this is a right pain in the ass. It takes time. Just, if I can finish this podcast with any advice, it's just to try different things, give it time, because some of it does take time, like the meditation, to be able to do it properly. And implement into your life, whether you're an athlete or not, what's good and beneficial, helpful and enjoyable. And then just get rid of the rest.
And don't give yourself a hard time. If you're doing these things, always remember the 80-20 principle. Trying it at 80% of the time. You're never going to hit it 100% of the time. Both of us are here saying this as advice, but we're never 100% on any of these things. It's just if you can do 80-20, it's a good shout. And sometimes the things that, as Mark said, they don't work for you. So just ditch them. Try something else. Just keep trying different things, and eventually you'll find the things that will work for you.
And if you've got any good tips, let us know. Reach out, and maybe we'll do another podcast on that.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you all, guys.
Peace out.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.